Hi there, and welcome to the latest episode of the NewIn Podcast. I'm Cathi Harrison, and I'm bloody delighted that you've joined us today to listen and watch along to this latest episode. So just before we dive in to share my latest interesting fact, so as of today, at the point that we're recording, I've launched my own running club. And of course, I couldn't just join a running club like a normal person, but I really enjoy running, and I love running on a morning, and I could only ever find ones that were on an evening, by which point I'm just ready to collapse, probably a little bit drunk. But that is the latest thing, because, I hadn't launched anything since 2 weeks ago when I launched a recruitment platform. So this is our latest New Talent episode. First of all, Ilana will be joined by Gerard. He's come through one of the foundation programs, so you can hear all about his experience, how he's found his way into finance and what the future might hold for him. And then I have an absolutely fascinating interview with a guy called Shiven, who is only 17 years old and who I met at a conference a couple of months ago. And I just loved his tenacity, his ambition to get into finance, his views as somebody outside of financial services, of what it looks like as a career. So I jumped on a call with him to find out all about his understanding, what we could be doing to attract more of guys like Shiven into financial services. So an absolutely jam-packed, incredible episode. Let's dive on in.
Hello, Gerard, and welcome to the NewIn Podcast.
Hi, how you doing? You all right?
Yeah, great. Really happy to have you here today. I hear lots of great things about you. I believe you're a very active member of the Verve community.
Yes, I try to be. I try and give my input where it's wanted and needed.
So let's start with, do you want to just tell us a little bit about what you're doing at the moment and your current role?
So currently I'm a branch manager for Skipton Building Society, and I work in Glasgow city centre. I've been at Skipton for, I think this will be 6 years now.
Okay. So what we like to do on this podcast is talk to people like yourself who didn't start off thinking about working in financial planning, and then find out what it was, what your life was like before, what you were doing.
Moved around a lot with my dad. He had me and my brother. Very young age, my mother left and we had never seen her ever again, but my dad moved all over the country, so taught martial arts everywhere. So we went from being, I think, all right when we were kids. I think we were doing okay, wealth-wise and stuff like that, to having absolutely nothing, like pretty quickly. From then we moved from Aberdeen to Birmingham to London to Clydebank, so I moved a lot. I finished school when I was 16. I left school in fourth year, no hires, no degree. Went to work to bring in money. At the time, it was just retail or a pub. I used to be like a key staff trainer for the pub, and I would teach people how to do everything and clean the place, and just general standards, making sure that customers were served. It was a very, very busy pub. They used to be like 3-4 deep at the bar. It was that busy. And one day, I was going for a promotion actually, and I taught someone how to do everything, and then they gave him the promotion because he had the degree, and I didn't.
Oh.
And the boss said to me, "You will never leave here. You are part of the furniture, so just get on with it." So the next day, I went out, looked for another job, got one for a company called JD Williams at the time, and then handed him a notice and said, "Don't ever tell me I can't do something."
Wow. Well, I mean, what a start to your story. I'm really sorry to hear that it sounds like you had a really tough start early on.
But you know what? It made me the person I am today because I had that grit and determination to never give up.
Yeah.
And the good thing about the jobs that I ended up starting in, like the pub game, it meant you got to talk to a lot of people. You get all sorts of people in the pub.
Yeah.
So I took that into my new employer. Was just about to get promoted, and I made up a CV, and I thought, I'm going to put in for the banks. I thought a bank job, that would be a good job. I'd love to get a job in a bank. I need something steady or a career because I didn't know what to do. Thought I'll never get in. There's no chance I'm getting in. and a woman called Sonia Edwardson. She's an amazing person. She phoned me, and she was the branch manager at Wigan, Lloyds at the time. She said, "Gerard, read your CV, really interested, but looking for some cashiers. Would you like to come in for an interview?" And I was like, "Of course, I'll be there. When do you need me?" I was like, "Right." Went out, bought a new shirt and tie, and I never looked back. So I started in the bank, I started in the counter, worked my way up from a cashier to an advisor to a senior advisor to senior personal banking manager to a privileged manager. But then I ended up being a bank manager in Lloyd's banking group. So I decided to move back up to Scotland, and I ended up in the TSB up here. And then redundancy came up. I got the phone call saying your branch is closing. You can reapply for your job, or this is your redundancy package. So I decided, you know what, it was the time for me to try something new. And I actually was trying to get into the fire brigade, but I've been running every day, and I done the fitness test and everything, and then the job from Skipton came up, an application in, thinking, I know what I'm doing with banking, I'll apply for that. And the very day I got into the fire brigade was the day I got a phone call saying I'd been successful in Skipton.
Oh
And
gosh,
I've been the manager in Skipton Building Society for the last 6 years.
what a sliding doors moment. And
Right,
are
that
you
was-
glad with the
Oh.
choice you made?
I'm glad with the choice I made, yeah. I mean, I'm not built to be a fireman. I was scared to death going through the dark tunnels with the mask on. I don't know how they do it. I think they are amazing people. But I stuck to what I knew, and what I knew I was good at and passionate about,
Yeah.
which is helping people and managing people's money and expectations for their future.
And I guess
And
after that experience where you said you bought your first shirt and tie, and all the shirts and ties you've bought in, that's just not something you can give up, is it? That experience in Marks and Spencer's.
couldn't afford Marks and Spencers, but but no, I'm glad I made the choice. I've learned a lot, and I've been doing this 25 years now. I've seen a lot of change in financial services, the good, the bad, you know, the ugly. I've seen it all. I've had some absolutely amazing experiences. I've had some absolutely horrible experiences, but I think that just shapes me as a person, and I love taking the best bits from that, and that's why ultimately I want to be a financial advisor, which is the big aim, is for me to go out and give people proper, good, holistic, great financial advice where they can trust someone.
In all the people who, that I tend to admire and respect, they all share that quality of looking at people who they admire and thinking, what are those things and how can I do that? I always call them secret mentors. And I've met people before, and so there might be people who I don't even know very well, but I have seen them do something that I think is amazing, or they phrase things in a certain way or engage in a certain way. And I think, oh, I'd love to be able to be more like that, or to be able to do that as well as they can. And they don't even know that they've secretly mentored me. One of the things I've spoken to many people about, including the Verve, is what a great career financial planning and advice is, also for social mobility, because what we find in the less advantaged areas in the UK, the sectors that are available to people are very narrow. So for girls in particular who I've been working with, it's, retail, beauty, hospitality, and they end up in these sectors. They don't even think of financial planning, which is, so many different types of job, and really can raise your income levels.
And me as as an employer just now, when I'm looking for talent, I look for someone that can hold a conversation and speak to someone. I'm not looking for the smartest person in the room. I'm not looking for someone that can pass 20 exams. Different people need you to react in different ways. There's a famous saying that's, I like to treat people as the way I like to get treated. And that's wrong. You should treat people in the way that they want to be treated, because everyone is different. Everyone likes to get treated in a different way, in a different style. I like to get information passed to me in a certain way. And you've got to when you're in this role, you've got to understand the person that's sat in front of you and then deliver that message to them in a way that they can understand. The street smart people can kind of understand that and deliver it in a way that is human and natural. And
I agree, and I've really noticed that, speaking to people like yourself during this podcast, the qualities, the skills, the talent that's coming in, that if people were only thinking in straight lines, like you say, can you pass this exam, sort of misperceptions of the things that you need to be good at, we would just miss so much. We already are, as we all know, we're missing people who would be brilliant because of the skills and the ability they bring to help people plan the life they want, because they think it's not for them.
I mean, I can look at 100 CVs and you can find someone who's got a lot of things in retail, and I'm like, I want to speak to them. I want to give that person a chance, a shot, because it's probably unconscious bias, but like I have no hires, no degrees. I had to work my socks off to get to where I've got to.
Yeah.
And that's where I tell people that nothing's impossible. If you want to go and do it, you just have to believe and go and try and do the work. But the hardest bit is getting your foot in the door.
Well, I don't think it's unconscious bias. I think it's insider knowledge, Gerard. That's what I'd call it. You talked about the passion for really wanting to help people, and the advice and planning side. So, do you want to tell me a bit about, what was the moment that you thought, actually, I want to be a financial planner?
Oh, a long, long time ago. I was probably working in Lloyd's at the time, and I seen a absolutely phenomenal financial advisor. Just amazing person. Like, kind of took me under his wing, taught me loads around how to find out what someone's goals and everything are. Looking in the future. I was really looked up to him, and he wasn't big-headed. He wasn't arrogant to anyone. He was just a genuinely nice person, and he really wanted to help other people. And then when you seen the things that he'd done for people, like, because I was in the same place for such a long time, you seen all these people coming back, and I was like, wow, this is really interesting. I'd love to do that. And then life got in the way, and they couldn't fund it for me, so I never had the opportunity to do it. But the desire to be a financial advisor has always been there for me. Since I first started working in Lloyd's way back when.
Which I think is very exciting for the profession, because clearly I think what we've heard already, you will be an absolute asset, and anyone would be lucky to have you as their planner, Gerard. But what was when you then thought, okay, now's the time, did that start with seeing an advert for Verve?
Rosalind McLeod used to work here for me, and then she went to a place up in Glasgow called Nucleus, I think. And then she got into the program, and then one day she seen another cohort coming out and said to me, why don't you apply for that? You want to be in a you'd be great. I was like, I'm never going to get in. There's no chance they'll let me in. Like, I've been in finance for a long time. I thought, I don't have a hope in hell's chance at getting my application in. But I thought, you know what, I'm going to apply. So I went on and I put in all my reasons for doing it and wanting to help people and wanting to do the right thing, and someone that they can actually come back to, and then they'll go away and recommend to their family and friends. Build that real lasting relationship is what I believe good finance should look like.
Well, it must have been extremely compelling, because I know how many applications they get through. So you must have written a very good one.
And I was like, oh my God, I'm in. And I studied for the first time since I was a kid. It's like, I need to study.
Yeah.
I think, I'm going to go back to Ros. She pushed me to do it and said, you can do this. And I was like, nah, I can't do it. And she was like, no, you absolutely can. And she's an absolute superstar, and I think because she pushed me and believed, and I thought, you know what, I can do this. I'm ready for that. I think I just needed someone just to tell me.
Yeah.
And,
do you think these supporters and these champions that we meet throughout our lives, I wonder if they could ever fully know, the impact that they actually have on people and the trajectory of their lives, you know, by the support and the belief when you don't have it yourself.
Probably the only worry I had and still have is I'm not great at passing exams. I'm not an exam type of person. I'm more of a get out and do it. Let me see how you do that. All right, I've got that. I can do that. And then I pick it up, and that's how I learn.
That's so common. I think what can happen, that you could be somebody that's amazing at exams because you've got that sort of right discipline to sit with textbooks, but then find that the actual job itself, getting your CAS status is very difficult, getting signed off, working with the clients, developing the relationships, that's the bit that's then going to be hard. So I think if you've got to pick your poison, that finding the exams hard is probably one of the best ones, because you even when it takes longer, you can eventually get there. Whereas it's very difficult to learn things like empathy and to be taught it, whereas you can be taught RO3. So
It's a horrible exam. I failed it twice, and I passed it third time lucky. And I'm not even going to lie to you. When I passed that one, I cried because I was so chuffed with myself.
I don't blame you.
You just have that determination and grit to, I'm going to do this. So what is it that I'm really struggling with? And just focus purely on that part.
Yeah.
And this is where the Verve community comes in really handy as well. Is when I get stuck, I ask people questions. And the best way to learn, I think, is to ask questions. Ask loads of questions. Put on the chat, someone explain this to me, and try and explain it to like a 15-year-old kid.
Yeah.
You know, what does this mean? How does this work?
I know it's something that, again, a quality that you see. Brilliant leaders all have that same quality. They're not, they're humble. They ask questions. They don't think it makes them look daft. They will ask more questions than anyone else in the room.
You know, when you have a mind like mine, which wants to go away and do things, I'm active when I'm a doer. I can't sit still for 5 minutes. But if I have to sit and really read something and read, I'm like, it's not sinking in. I need someone just to show me and explain. But I think that the chats are really good for that, and goes on to the point of helping people as well, because I don't know all the answers, but if someone puts a question on that chat, by God, will I try and find out an answer for them, or at least point them in the right direction, saying, well, don't ask me that, but I know someone that knows the answer to that.
And it sounds like you've obviously really delivered a huge amount of support to people in that community.
I think I've tried my best. My thing, I don't want to see anybody fail, and if I can help someone even just a little bit in either their career or life or with their finances, I get a lot of pleasure and enjoyment out of that, because you can see them moving on and going on to bigger and better things, and or making improvements in their life, and that I get a buzz out of that.
And I guess on that note, you know, what are your plans, or have you thought about what that route into advice is going to be for you?
I have thought about it. Firstly, I need to pass these last 2 exams, and then I need to put the feelers out there, and it's just finding someone that will give me that opportunity.
What are the things that you thank yourself for, and what are you most proud of yourself for?
I probably thank myself for not giving up, and if someone's told me, no, you can't do that, I'm like, I'll show you that I can do that. I think I thank myself for that, for having that drive and determination, and the will to basically keep getting back up, because there are times where I've been knocked down and I think I could just stay there, and I've not done. And I'm exceptionally proud of myself, because where I came from in Glasgow, it's a wee street in Clydebank called Jannock Street, statistically not employable, and you know, I worked my way up, and I've learned, and I've got to a really good position where, you know, someone that went to 5 different primary schools and 2 high schools, but that's not stopped me.
And nor should it, yeah. Well, that's a joy to hear, and because absolutely deservedly so. particularly in the face of adversity and when there are so many challenges and you have to constantly really make good choices for yourself, to be able to maintain that through really challenging times that you obviously have and to come out stronger is, hugely admirable.
For me, like talking about it and having good people around you and trying to believe in yourself and sometimes taking that step back to think, right, what is it that I need to change or do differently?
Yeah.
And who are the best people that I can speak to and have a network of people that you can trust is really, really important.
I used to be, this might surprise people, a real gamer. I love platform games, things like Oblivion. And you know how you get a certain amount of lives, you get like these hearts at the bottom, and you're moving through the world and everything's attacking you and things are landing on you. You're getting battered and bruised. And if you let it go too far, game over. You're out the game. But actually throughout the game, you can, I don't know, collect fruit or lives or whatever, and it restores your energy. And like I thought about that moving through life, you can't ever let things get too knocked down without doing whatever it is that restores your energy. Spending time with friends or within a community. It might be for people painting or running, or music, whatever those things are. We've got to take that time, haven't we, to do the things that restore us again. I guess it is time for us to wrap up. I could talk to you for much longer. Thank you again for being so open with us. And I will watch with excitement about how things unfold into the future for you. So thank you so much again, Gerard.
No, you're more than welcome. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
NewIn Podcast, supported by Royal London, the lead sponsor of the Verve Foundation.
Fab, lovely. Well, welcome to the NewIn Podcast, Shiven. Lovely to have you here.
Thank you so much.
No worries at all. Do you want to just start by telling people a little bit about kind of your background, your current situation, and then also how it is that our paths first came to cross?
Yeah. So my name is Shiven. I'm currently a year 12 student, studying maths, further maths, physics, and economics. And I'm part of a charity called Urban Synergy Mentoring. And they provide work experience opportunities and other events such as Next Wealth to young people like me so that we can see what industry we want to go into, see how it is. I absolutely loved it. The amount of people I met, the amount of knowledge I got, especially afterwards interacting with people, like it was like one small thing led to so many big opportunities and a lot of knowledge. It really gave me a passion to go into the financial literacy sector because I feel like people like me and people I see around me are not that well versed in financial literacy.
If you go to a finance event, it can almost, I worry that there's a risk of it putting people off because you just think, I don't know what they're talking about, like this is crazy. But you obviously found enough in that first event that it just piqued your interest even more.
Yes. I mean, towards the end, I think you may remember there was a lot of jargon being fired around, and I was extremely confused. It also gave me that step. Okay, I'm going to write down the jargon. I'm going to search up later. I'm going to see what it's all about, because I think that's what scares a lot of people, like young people like me. Like, oh, they're talking about the S&P 500, but what is the S&P 500?
And it genuinely is. We are very aware as an industry that there is too much jargon and that it is very difficult for people to understand, either like from your aspect to understand the industry and maybe consider a career, but also from the perception of the client. And actually client understanding is a regulatory requirement. So we're so conscious of it, but in an event, a finance event, I feel like everybody just defaults back into just acronyms and phrases that most people wouldn't understand. Tell me a little bit about the book that you've written then.
Yeah, so I enjoy writing. I have for a very long time. The other events I've been through, I went to London Stock Exchange, and they were talking to us about how we want the youth generation to like start investing to actual assets that will compound over time. I think in the UK, we need to invest rather than save. And that has to be fostered from a young age, because we may have like the NatWest accounts, the Revenue Children accounts. They still incentivize us to buy stuff so that we get something in return.
Yeah.
They don't incentivize saving and investing that money somewhere else. And I started writing my book on financial literacy. And the main idea was that it's a handbook written by a teenager for other teenagers
Mm.
to avoid the jargon that maybe some adults may use. So I tried to make it as simple as possible.
I love the idea of talking about finance from a teenager to a teenager. How, like, have any of your friends read it, or when you try and talk to them about finance, like, has anything kind of changed in their perception of it, or does it still seem like a kind of a crazy world to them?
Yeah, so especially when I wrote the book, I gave it to many, many people. And some people were like, I haven't done any of this. And
Yeah.
it's fantastic. I didn't know what compound interest was. I just knew it from a formula. I didn't understand that it works like this. If I save money now, then in 50 years' time, I'll have so much more.
Because I think the UK generally prides itself on having high educational standards, kind of across the population, high rates of people going to university and so on. But actually, at the same time, we know that we're really poor at like financial education and financial literacy. And actually, it's not like every single country is terrible at it, because other countries, which maybe don't pride themselves on general education as much as we do, are still doing a better job of explaining compound interest to young people. So actually, it is perfectly possible to do it. What do you think would have been the ideal age for you to start learning some of these concepts?
Yeah, so as of in school, we do have a thing called 21st century skill,
Okay.
which covers some financial literacy, but I feel like it doesn't cover enough. We learn maybe about loan sharks, for example. Learning about threats is what we do at school, and we don't learn how to passively invest. So invest in many ETFs or large cap index funds, not to throw jargon at people, actually.
Happens to us
But
all.
but if we have these things in paper trading that we can invest in from a very young age, and we can start to understand what we can do in the future with our real money. But I never knew that from my school. I only knew that when I was researching online.
Actually, it's such an interesting point that they come at it from like threats, like almost what's
Threats,
what's
yeah.
the danger that's out there, as if like the
Mhm.
only purpose of finance is to understand the bad stuff. But the
Yeah,
reality is most people are going to hopefully have a job, hopefully have some surplus cash, and actually not know what to do with it. So yeah, I think that
exactly.
kind of more positive view on it would definitely help.
We leave university with so much debt, with so little knowledge how to invest and how to pay off the debt.
Mm,
Some people that I know who are working are still paying off their university debt,
yeah.
maybe 10, 20 years afterwards, just trying to make ends meet. How can I still use what I have saved, invest it, and pay off that debt so I'm not in paying interest in increments every single year?
Absolutely. Shiven, I feel like I need you as my financial advice. I'm thinking, I know I should be paying my mortgage off faster. I should be investing more. In terms of kind of looking at financial services sector, then, what now is your understanding of I guess, the career options in the world of finance? So, as somebody who's very financial literate and has been involved in finance events, what's your understanding of the career options in financial services?
So when I was learning about financial services and industry, the only two I knew initially was just buzzwords thrown at me. But then I understood that there was financial advisory, audit and taxation, actuary jobs. So when I went to these events, I learned that there was so much more. There's a plethora of things, even fintech.
I agree. There is, it's always been the case. At best, people might think they want to be a financial advisor, but because again, it's a word that they've heard of, it's a term they might have heard of. And then once you get into finance, there's even things in like, it could be marketing in finance, it could be fintech, it could be so much AI development in finance, right the way through to like the regulatory and the risk side of it. There is so much, but it's almost like maybe buzzwords aren't the worst thing, because of at least attracting attention, as long as people
Mhm.
understand that's only a hook, that's not kind of the whole thing, and they take the time to get it in and actually understand all the different options that there actually are. What do you think we could be doing to attract more people to choose careers in financial services?
I think the biggest thing, which I know is hard for some firms to set up, is a degree apprenticeship pathway. The number one thing that will attract younger people into the financial services sector is definitely degree apprenticeships. But apart from that, um, ghosting, shadowing, and work experience opportunities is the second best thing, because having insight webinars is having attended a couple myself,
Hmm.
after a while, after attending one or two, the information becomes redundant. I
Yeah.
feel like you've attended 5 or 6 webinars and insight days. What are you actually getting after the seventh or the eighth? And they're not learning more about how's the job, where do I see myself? Can I see myself in that job? So the work experience opportunities and the shadowing opportunities is definitely the second biggest thing.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Have you, and I appreciate, how old are you now, Shiven?
I'm 17.
You're 17. I appreciate you are very young to have made this decision, but have you decided on kind of the career path and the goal that you want to work towards, or are you still just kind of exploring your options?
At the moment, so initially I was thinking definitely in the financial advisory sector, but after next month, we had a big discussion about AI.
Yeah.
That's a big thing that is changing the industry. And by the time I plan to pursue a degree, perhaps through a degree apprenticeship, perhaps through a normal degree.
Yeah.
But after my 4 to 5 year course, I do not know in 6 years' time how will AI change the industry.
Yeah.
So for me, it's very uncertain to go, okay, I want to go head in, I want to go into financial advisory because
Yeah.
I don't know how that industry will be in 6 years. And I don't think anyone knows I don't even think AI knows.
Yeah. No, I
How
agree.
the industry will be. So I think that's the uncertainty. So I want a good base, a good ground to then go off into the industry.
And it sounds like a very smart move. And I think what you've done is kind of developed your own interest in financial services, in financial literacy, in the kind of skills that will help you regardless. I guess knowing what you know now, if it was, back in sort of years 7 through to 11, what would you say kind of the core topics that would be interesting to students of that age and would also give them a good grounding in the kind of financial areas that they should know about?
Yeah. So of course, I talked about having the risks posed towards us when we're in year 9. And immediately when you're told the risks as the first thing, then you automatically are defensive about money, about investing, about the financial sector as a whole. Immediately you're defensive. But also when we're talking about mortgages, when we're talking about pensions, saving in the long term, even about stuff like university debt, I think we should not address it as an issue and not address it as, oh, you're going to be in a bad position when you leave university. You're going to have this much debt, you're going to have this much mortgage. If you want to get a house, if you want to get a car, you'll have this tax, you'll have that tax. When you get your pay slip, you have income tax. Is less about what is being taken from me, but also what I can invest to help pay that back. So it's more, instead of just throwing, oh, this is a risk, you're going to be in debt, you're going to have this tax. What can I do in that situation? Because it's going to happen, but how do I not feel as though I'm being attacked?
Yeah. Absolutely. I think you're right. There's something about the framing of it, isn't there? There's the knowledge, there's the factual information, but there's the framing of it's risk versus reward, as everything is. But actually, if you only focus on the risk, then it is seen as a negative compared to, and there's a big part of it when, as financial planners, when you're sitting with clients, what you're trying to do is get them to articulate what's your dream, what's your goal, what's your lifestyle, because that's all positive stuff. And then let's figure out how your money can get you there. And that's a very different way. And then, yes, as part of that, there's going to be some risks. How do we mitigate the risks? Typically, a payslip will have your gross salary, and then it'll have deductions, and under deduction it'll have pension contribution, and so it's framed as a very negative, like we're taking money, we're deducting money from you for your pension. But actually what that should be instead is like investment, and we're taking this money and putting it into your future, like your future pot rather than your current pot. So I think there's things like that that would make people not feel as frustrated when they see £60 coming out of their pay slip, and instead of thinking, well, that's another jacket I could have bought, they'll be thinking, oh great, that's £60 in the future, it'll be worth £1,000. Isn't that like wonderful?
Exactly.
There's a balance of sharing the risks without doing it to the point of scaremongering people. Shiven, thank you so much for coming along today. Not a problem, and it was lovely to see you at Next Wealth. And if you've got any links with your books or any PDFs or anything we can share, then please feel free to send them over. I'm happy to kind of share them out and get your wise words shared far and wide. Excellent, and that's a wrap on another episode of the NewIn Podcast. So a huge thank you as always to our guests, to Gerard and to Shiven. Thank you to Ilana for her wonderful interviewing skills as always, and to Royal London for their sponsorship, and look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Thank you.
If you're interested in joining one of our advisor programs or being a supporter of our mission, then head on over to vervefoundation.co.uk.